Well, how the turntables. I was told to stop coping, that it made no sense, and that I was just a glazer with absolutely no reading comprehension. But I stuck by my belief, and goddamn did I get a satisfying payoff with that chapter. For literal months, I have been pushing the theory that Yuta Okkotsu will return with the 6 Eyes and Limitless technique. When Gojo was teased last chapter, I immediately predicted it would actually be Yuta Okkotsu. And finally, after the longest week in my life, chapter 261 proved the haters wrong because Yuta Okkotsu has returned. And he is probably now the strongest sorcerer to ever walk the earth. Yuta Okkotsu has officially returned to the battlefield with the 6 Eyes and the Limitless technique. However, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and admit that he did not gain them quite how I expected him to. In fact, watching these leaks come out was such a rollercoaster of emotions because the first thing we saw was Gojo with Kenjaku stitches across his forehead, and best believe my heart sank after seeing that. However, the very next page revealed Sukuna's reaction, which changed everything. Sukuna thought it was impossible for Gojo to be standing there, but then he slowly pieced together what was actually going on and became stupidly excited. With a psychotic grin, Sukuna said, "I'm sorry for underestimating you. I didn't realize you would go this far, Yuta Okkotsu." We then learn about Yuta's secret plan that had been hinted at for the last few chapters. Yuta basically got Rika to eat Kenjaku so that he could copy the body swapping technique and take Gojo's body. Now I realize at face value this seems extremely and confusing, but when you properly analyze it, you will realize it is peak writing. Obviously, Yuta haters are very kicked into high gear though, so they probably will hate it.
Well, no fucking shit.
But if you're here for the story and goated characters, I think you will really like this video. Before we dive properly into why Yuta and Gojo are beautifully written throughout this chapter, we're first gonna check out how ridiculously strong this new Yuta is. For at least 5 minutes, Yuta should have access to Gojo's entire kit, his domain, Rika, and all of Yuta's normal copied abilities. I do not think it's a stretch to say that for these next 5 minutes, Yuta Okkotsu is the strongest sorcerer in history. We've got Yuta's natural talent mixed with access to Gojo's memories, plus the 6 Eyes, plus all applications of Limitless, plus Jacob's Ladder, plus Shrine, plus Rika, and as if all of that isn't enough, he even has a full-blown Infinite Void domain that he pulled out against Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine. You cannot possibly tell me that you think anyone except Takaba is stronger than this character. And yes, at the end of this chapter, both Heian Era Sukuna and Yuta Gojo clash domains in a glorious double spread that I cannot show you without YouTube holo-purpling my channel. Anyway, it's very clear that Yuta should be way too strong for current Sukuna to deal with, which makes me think that the merger is coming very soon. Remember what Tengen said, a 6 Eyes user always appears on the day of the merger. Yuta entering with the 6 Eyes and being way too strong likely indicates that the merger is gonna come very soon to level the playing field. And it will be in that battle that I feel both Yuji and Yuta will awaken their full potential and yet again fight side by side. After all, Yuta did promise to end Sukuna in his domain, and Yuta is known for always keeping his word. I also just find it very ironic that Kenjaku once said Yuta can never be the new Gojo, yet here we are. F***ing idiot. As I'm sure you all know by now, when connected to Rika, Yuta can utilize copied abilities for up to 5 minutes. And fortunately, Gege did not forget this detail, since it is actually addressed in one of this chapter's many time-skip flashbacks. Basically, they don't have a clue how it will work because Kenjaku's curse technique is just really creepy and weird. I'm sure the TCB will clear it up, but for now, we're aware of 2 possible outcomes. A, when the 5 minutes end, Yuta Okkotsu will just drop dead, and B, when the 5 minutes end, Yuta will permanently lose his copy technique and then permanently remain in Gojo as the new 6 Eyes Limitless user. Personally, I feel like option B is way more likely because then he loses Jacob's Ladder and Shrine, meaning when Yuji perfects Shrine, he'll be on the same level as Yuta, if not a little bit stronger. Until translations come out though, there's not really much I have to say on this topic. We are now gonna start properly analyzing 261's flashbacks and how Yuta solidified himself as a peak Jujutsu Kaisen character. Also, please remember that despite being an agenda pusher, I like this reveal because I genuinely saw it as the route to take, which makes most sense narratively speaking. I have made at least 3 videos deep diving why this was always going to happen, and me thinking that this was gonna happen is not simply because I like him. It does just make sense. Yuji has his constant parallels with Sukuna, and Yuta has his constant parallels with Gojo, as I have said many times before. Yuji awakened Shrine and is en route to surpass Sukuna, but in order to achieve Gojo's dream, Yuji can't be alone in becoming the strongest. So it makes perfect sense that the old main character, who is constantly compared to Gojo, should inherit Gojo's power and stand beside Yuji. If you truly are a Yuji fan, I see no reason for you to want Yuji to be all alone. I'll admit, taking over Gojo's body was not really the way I expected it to happen, but Yuta gaining the 6 Eyes and Limitless to surpass Gojo alongside Yuji is not a sudden thing that Gege pulled out of his ass. There have been constant themes themes and parallels leading up to this reveal since JJK Volume 0. It was set up from the very start. The only way I was able to predict this happening was because I read Jujutsu Kaisen with my eyes open like a normal person and actually picked up on the hints that Gege was dropping. It really surprised me that this reveal came as a shock to a lot of people because it was always going to happen. For me, the best part of this chapter by far was seeing Yuta actually make the plan and show how he was truly the only one there who even came close to understanding Gojo's struggles. Kusakabe and the others gave Yuta a lot of pushback for this plan because taking over Gojo would be inhumane. As Arame pointed out in chapter 245, modern sorcerers don't reach their full potential because they don't just let go of their humanity and become a monster. Arame says Hikari doesn't act like that though, and Hikari then says it's because he just got the same talk from Yuta Okotsu. Bear in mind that I'm working with hella early translations, but I believe Yuta is saying that in order to beat history's strongest sorcerer, they need to become monsters themselves. Yuta gives what looks like an absolutely incredible speech about how they cannot rely on Gojo to carry the burden of being a monster so that everyone else doesn't have to. And throughout JJK, Gojo is treated as a walking weapon that should shoulder the responsibility of protecting everybody else. Nanami was actually a really good example of this, since he was a very strong advocate for Gojo just handling all of the Jujutsu sorcery himself. But it gets even better than this, because Gojo goes to kill the higher-ups and he asks Yuta to leave him so that he doesn't have to see what Gojo's about to do. Yuta refuses though, and yet again says Gojo should not have to bear the burden of being a monster alone. I adore this because it just goes to show how suited Yuta is to be the new Gojo. Out of everybody there, Yuta is the one who best understands Gojo's struggle, and that fits so well with Yuta always being called second to Gojo. So now that Gojo is gone, Yuta has literally taken it upon himself to inherit Gojo's burden and abandon his humanity to defeat the strongest sorcerer in history. Although with Yuji having awakened Shrine and becoming the new King of Curses, it looks like Yuta won't have to carry that burden alone. Now another very key topic I wanted to discuss is actually something many people have overlooked. Yuta Okotsu has Satoru Gojo level talent for Jujutsu. He is constantly presented as a genius. His copy technique is literally only as strong as it is because of Yuta's incredible ability to analyze mid-fight and learn how his opponent's curse techniques work. And the best example of this was in Sendai Colony when he was analyzing Uro's technique. He has proven that even seeing a technique in action once is enough for him to be able to replicate it almost perfectly. What sets Gojo apart from Yuta though is Gojo's ability to actually improvise these techniques without a model at all. He just makes them up on the spot. In this chapter, we're told that Yuta apparently has come prepared with a potential solution to Sukuna's open domain. And when did he come up with this solution, you ask? Well, while you lot were hyper-focused on Gojo versus Sukuna, a lot of you missed the fact that Gege was putting a lot of deliberate focus on Yuta's analysis of the fight. Yuta was light years ahead of everybody else watching, as he not only worked out how Gojo healed his curse technique, but also that Gojo was pushing past his limits. So when it says that he found a solution to Sukuna's open barrier, it's likely a result of Yuta analyzing that fight and finding a solution hidden within it. I would not be surprised if Yuta can now change barrier conditions, like shrinking it really small, moving it out of Malevolent Shrine's range, or maybe even fully replicating Sukuna's open barrier himself. Overall, I love this chapter, and I cannot wait to see all of the haters realize that they look stupid as shit and start screaming shit like bad writing. The only bad part of Jujutsu Kaisen at the moment is its pacing. All of this is happening way too fast, and when the stakes aren't even that high. I mean, Yuji and Todo were literally rinsing Sukuna. They did not need this help. I get Gege wants weekly hype, but we are going way too fast, and it is actually hurting the story. Todo and Yuji's fight should have been minimum 3 chapters, and we could do with some Arame vs Hikari, and hell, even some Heion era flashbacks sandwiched in. Still though, nothing is going to ruin this chapter for me because I was right, and I can now spend the rest of my days holding this over all of the haters' heads. So to everybody who doubted this theory and was writing shit like no reading comprehension in my comments, then I suggest you shut up! Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, feel free to join my Discord and follow me on Twitter, links below. If you want to hear more about what I have to say on Yuta in detail, then I actually recommend watching my previous videos on it. I'll drop those links in the description as well. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you all very soon with some new content.